So what I'm going to talk about is the value of technology, looking at things like haptics, biometrics, and beyond. So what I've done, much like Rev, is an agenda. What I haven't done like Rev is it's not particularly formal. So here's what we're going to do step by step. Number one, it'll be some shameless self-promotion where I'll show you one of our show reels, and it's just a chance for you to go, wow, these guys look really good, we should work with them. Then, scene setting, a bit of context, where are we now? Then, honest opinions, me telling you what I really think maybe. Then we're going to move on to a case study about 3D printing, which is actually really important, so I'll give you a bit about my background shortly. And then, there will be some examples of things to be aware of with short videos to break up the flow of me talking, because I'm very much aware it's the end of the day, it's really, really sunny outside, and the fact that you're here is absolutely unbelievable, and I, Develop3D, have agreed to buy each and every one of you a pint to say thank you for staying here, so well done to Alistair and the team. Then we're going to have a call to action, so watch out for that. You'll know it'll be really, really clear. It's going to be right in the middle of the screen, single sentence. And then, last but not least, contact details. It's all going to loop back, guys. You're going to get this. So, moving forward, who are Inition? So, Inition are a London-based company. We've been going for 19 years now. We've kind of evolved over time. So we started off doing a lot of 3D film work. We then moved to work with 3D printing, 3D scanning. We got involved with virtual reality back when it was Oculus DK1 stages. We did some pioneering work around technology integration. We evolve and we evolve and we evolve. And where we position ourselves is basically we're content production, but we're also consultancy as well. So I'll allude to this shortly, but the best companies that we work with are the companies who don't just go full steam ahead and just go, we want to do something because it's cool. They actually educate themselves first of all. So we come in at that stage as well to help companies who are looking at AI, for example, and rather than just going, yeah, let's do something, they actually come, try and understand it, find out whether it works for their business or not, and then go, okay, let's do a proof of concept, let's try and evolve it from there. So here's a shot of some of our clients. You might recognize them because they're all great big companies. Like probably every company here, we've worked with lots and lots of different big companies over time. I think one of the things that we're very fortunate to have is a really, really diverse range of clients. So we don't, I'm not going to pretend that we specialize in AEC, for example, because we don't. The nature of our business is that we deal with a huge range of different clients from a huge range of different industries. And what that helps is that we don't become caught in an echo chamber. I think before I worked at Inition, I worked at a 3D print company who were exclusively AEC, and you found the conversations you were having were very, very much the same again and again, where actually what I've learned is sometimes the work that's been done in aviation is going to have impacts on what people are doing in retail, and that's really important that these industries bleed into each other because that knowledge can then bleed into each other as well. So you've had about 4 minutes of me talking now, so then we lead into 10 seconds of me just looking straight at you all, and then the video will just play, and it's so seamless because sometimes it would just load up, and that would interrupt the flow of the whole thing and create a sense of panic because I've got 4 other videos in this presentation, and if this loading time is going to be the same for each and every one, it's going to really slow things down. Hey, so here we go, guys. Perfect. It hopefully gives you an idea of some of the work that we do Another thing to add is that all of our resources are in-house, so all of our 3D artists and our developers and our creatives are all in-house. So that's the shameless self-promotion done. What I want to talk about now is this concept of technology moving faster than ever. It's a really exciting time. There's so much going on, probably more going on in terms of technology than has happened before, which is fantastic. But what it also means is there's a huge amount of hyperbole and rhetoric at the same time. So, as I say here, the next big thing has never been bigger. The potential impact on our lives has never been greater. Every single article you read will say, imagine if, and every single article has just got this great big thing that will tell you, in certain name of technology, the industry will be worth $220 billion by 2020, say PwC. Forbes magazine will tell you that AI is going to revolutionize the way we X, Y, Z. It's really, really exciting, but it's harder than that. I think rather than getting caught up in all this empty rhetoric, it's important that companies start to take a strategic approach to how they deal with these things. So when we talk about something strategic, it's not always needing to be the first company there. I think, and this is probably talking down of my own company, but 2 or 3 years ago when VR started to get interesting and it became something which was more commercially aware, everyone wanted to do something with it. Everyone wanted to do a world first with it, and we were happy to do that. We did the world's first virtual reality catwalk with Topshop. We did the world's first virtual reality skydive with Nissan. And they were great projects, but no one was really asking the question why. I think what's happening now is that with the best companies that we work with, they're taking a more strategic approach to the work that they're doing. So that question of why should we be using artificial intelligence, why should we be using virtual reality, it's been asked far more, and you're seeing the companies that are really pioneering are asking that question. They're educating themselves at the very start. So when we talk about the industry leaders, it's talking about innovation being something they do as a principle. It's the idea behind doing anything within a business. If you invest in a new piece of software, the idea is always strategically thinking. And I mean, strategic's the wrong word. Everything that everyone does is strategic to a certain extent. No one does anything in complete isolation, but they're trying to work out how to create business efficiencies with it. So if you're going to look at augmented reality as a technology, you don't look at it as something that's purely going to affect marketing. The best companies will look at it as something that you insert at the top of the business and you begin to understand when that trickles down, how that's going to impact different areas of the businesses. So yeah, they make it part of how they do business. I think just like sustainability became a buzzword within businesses, innovation became one and still is for a lot of companies. We deal with the biggest of the big companies and we deal with their heads of innovation, their heads of technology, and they just want what the big thing is. What's the next big thing? Tell us what it is and we'll do something with it. We'll do a proof of concept. We're not involved in this, but EY have released a blockchain shoe today. What does that even mean? It's chaos, but the big four, these big consultancies are some of the worst culprits in terms of taking this, skimming the top view of technologies and just going, yeah, we understand it, look, we did a thing. It's very, very gimmicky. Some of the best companies that we've worked with, and I don't mind name dropping, some of them might be here today, I hope they are, they normally are. Jaguar Land Rover, Rolls-Royce and Skanska are the best companies I've had the privilege to deal with in the past in terms of hiring really, really smart people who understand that they might be experts in their industry, but they're not experts in everything. And that means they will happily take a step back when they talk to us and they'll accept that there's things that they know a lot more than we do about, and there's things that we know a lot more than they do about. And that means that relationship is a very, very natural one where these new technologies, and we always talk about the possibilities and the limitations, and what that means is they have a very, very structured methodology that they take back into their businesses. Skanska, for example, in their reception area in Rickmansworth, you'll tend to see they have their proof of concepts there for people to play around with. It's the first thing you see when you go into there. So all these staff, whether you're senior engineers, designers, receptionists, account managers, all get the chance to play around with these technologies, and then that creates that inspiration where you can begin to go, okay, well, where's it going to fit in my business? These guys are really, really great, and you can learn a lot from them. We've certainly learned a lot from them as a business as well. What I like to do is talk about 3D print as a model. So my background was really, really weird. I turned down university to work for a bank. I then got bored of banking and got involved in product design. So I worked for a company that specialized in invention development. So you come to us with an invention idea, and we would look at intellectual property, we'd design it, we'd prototype it, and we'd help commercialize it. From there, I got involved in 3D printing, moved to work for one of the first 3D print companies in London, just as that big hype period was starting. So when I was first working for the company Hop Studio, who are a fantastic company, they've got lots more branches now, all the people who came to me, and we had all the mainstream media would come and they'd say, so what's 3D printing going to be used for? And I'd say, well, no one really knows yet. It was such early days. There's certainly things that it's very, very good for. You can create efficiencies and blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, but what if my TV breaks? Can I print a new TV at home? No. Oh, but could you maybe in the future? Yes, maybe. 3D printers to print new TVs in home in minutes. That wasn't right. And I think the 3D printing industry really, really struggled. I think it was trying to find what it was meant to be. But then over time, and this paragraph here is wonderful because my colleague told me just to delete it because it's absolute nonsense, and it is nonsense, but I'll read it out word for word. It took some time, but again, the best innovators tried and failed, and then tried again, and sometimes failed, but sometimes succeeded, and now many of them use 3D print as part of their day-to-day business. It's an awful, awful paragraph, but my colleague Daisy told me to get rid of it again and again, and I'm just the sort of person who said I'm going to leave it in there. What this meant was these companies who are now using 3D printing, and this is in construction, in automotive, they're using it as a day-to-day part of their business, and Rev made a great point in terms of how it is being used to save time and save money. They educated themselves, they tested, they'd made mistakes, they didn't give up. If they did give up, they gave up for good reason. If they tried and tested again, it then worked, and then they've integrated it and it's part of their business. This needs to be the way that we look at other technologies as well. It can't just be you either just give it a go and then if it doesn't work out, you go, no, you need to try and you need to fail. So what I'm going to talk about relatively briefly, because I've got no idea, how am I doing for time? Okay, who knows? It's the end of the day. It's a free-for-all. It's chaos, guys. It could be 8 p.m. Who knows? What I'm going to talk about are just 2 or 3 things I think are really interesting that some of you will be quite aware of, some of you won't be. Some of them are really, really obvious. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is data capture. So data capture is a huge part of what we do day to day. When you're talking about web or digital, data capture is it's just common sense. With a lot of the technologies we're using now, so at the moment we do a lot of work with VR and AR, and there's that huge gap around when people experience something, you have them in a frame of mind when they're probably more immersed and more relaxed in experience because they're not being driven by a salesperson or not being driven by advertising, that you actually have the potential to get really, really good data. But it's hard to find at the moment. What you're seeing more and more is there's the ability to embed things like eye tracking or heat mapping, basically, into your experiences that will track in a VR or AR experience, where are people looking, what are they engaging with, and what this means is that you have a far greater understanding of what your users are doing in the experience, rather than just making assumptions. You're actually getting that real-life data off the back of it. I'm also aware there's a video coming up, and I think we're all filled with trepidation at the idea of what resolution this video is going to play at. Will it play at all? Am I going to have to fill it in with something? Who knows? So here's a case study for a project we did with Facebook, and I've led into it a little bit now. Straight there, going straight away. That's all you've got to do.
Facebook were holding an event in Paris where they'd invited a number of the key sporting brands that they wanted to work with. So Inition suggested using a collaborative touch interface that would, in principle, bring the data to life. So we were provided with data sets for 6 different sports, and from here the participants at the event were able to look at the table, explore the data, and find out basically about just how data-rich Facebook are as an organisation.
Well, one of the great benefits of the multi-taction table is the ability to use marker recognition items to reveal content. And using different markers for different sports, for example football, rugby, athletics, presenting these markers onto the table then revealed different metrics about those sports. People were able to quite intuitively get hold of markers, put them on the table, present it, and really explore the data in a very informal but engaging manner.
Facebook data visualization project was fascinating to work on. A great way of showing how Facebook can use technology to actually add additional value. For us, it was a first chance to understand more about Facebook's way of working and also give us an insight as to how technology can be used to add value to the experiences that they're creating.
So what was really nice about that project was that you were given a way that people were going to be engaging with the data in a manner that was completely unbiased. So all the data we captured in the background from there around, for example, the types of sport people were interested in, the sporting personalities, it was all completely unbiased. People were just go on, just play around, just engage, and that meant that Facebook could then adapt their content based on unbiased data from there. So what I've done whilst that video is playing is check my watch, and I'm going to speed up. This project was great. We also gave them a CMS, which meant based on the data capture we created, they could then update that data and make sure that the most relevant things they wanted to display could be shown. There's a couple of other case studies here that I'll blast through. One is for RSA, which was a VR experience, which I'm going to tell you more about shortly. The other was for Jaguar Land Rover, which was an interactive interior configurator, where in VR you could put people inside the vehicles and you could then configure it to your personal preference, again, embedding data capture into it so you could understand that what customers' preferences were around it. Something we're looking at a lot now is this idea of biometrics. So understanding not just what people are seeing, but also what they feel is a really big part of what we're exploring now. So emotion drives a lot of, particularly marketing communications, emotion drives a lot of basically how successful campaigns are. Do people enjoy that or did they not? There's biometric devices, and we work particularly with a company called MTech, who produce an insert that can go inside the VR headset or inside the mixed reality headset, and it then gives you an emotional response across an X and a Y axis, and it tells you what people are feeling throughout the experience. So I'll flick forward based on some loading time, and then I'll pause it if it loads quickly. We did a campaign with the Road Safety Authority in Ireland, and it was a virtual reality campaign all around drink driving. What we were able to do was to prove its efficacy in comparison to more traditional campaigns was we embedded biometric. You could then see people's responses to the VR compared to the traditional video and show you that it was giving a larger emotional response there, which could give you something which would then hopefully show it's there for a greater deterrent.
We deal with tragedy every day and critical patients every day. This was different.
Thank you so much. You're all right to drive, aren't you?
And because it's blurry, I'll talk over it. But the premise behind it was that you have a choose your own journey around you either stay in or you go out on the night out, and then you have another drink, and then you get caught in a car crash, and then you can go into a court scene. This is a prison scene. You can be found at home and you're in a wheelchair. It's actually, in terms of use of virtuality, it's pretty harrowing as an experience. It's first person, so you can see yourself there, and you are the victim. You made the decision, and then you're seeing the impact on that. And embedding the biometrics into that just gave the Road Safety Authority a real way of actually measuring, does this work, beyond in the first campaign where we got lots of feedback saying, wow, it's amazing, it's immersive, it's engaging. They now actually have the data off the back of it that they can go, look, compared to what we've done before, this is getting a bigger reaction than what we did before. Artificial intelligence, here's a very terrible GIF. I was going to go for the one which is like a robot with lightning bolts coming out of its head or something like that, but my colleague said, no, let's do this, which is a data visualization based on AI. It's nonsense. AI is not nonsense. What it's doing is, we talk a lot about this concept of barrier to entry. AI has a very low barrier to entry because the understanding of what you can do with it is very, very simple, albeit the algorithms behind it might not be. With AI, it's very simple to understand how this is going to embed itself within businesses. So what we're seeing more and more is that with AI, you can be embedding this into your content. So based on what it's learning in real time, you can be adapting that content based on what it finds out about you. One thing we've learned from basic projects we've done is that you need to exercise caution with these things as well. Educate yourselves first of all. You need to make sure that your information start point isn't biased, or else you end up with these awful, awful situations where you end up with really horrific output that gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And there's a few high-profile things that have done that. No video for that, which is good news. The final point I'm going to talk about before coming up to that big call to action moment that I talked about earlier on are haptics. So this idea of using the sense of touch is really, really powerful with an experience. So particularly in virtual reality, visual and audio are probably now really, really heavily explored. So we do, with basically every type of content piece we do, we'll use binaural audio. Haptics is the next big thing for us, this idea of giving a sense of touch. So we recently completed a project for a pharmaceutical company, and the idea behind it was you're really, really limited in what you can do with pharma companies in terms of advertising. One thing that is possible is to create a sense of empathy or increased empathy. So we created a multiple sclerosis simulator that allowed medical professionals to go some way to understanding when people come to them and they say, I'm experiencing a tingling, I'm experiencing difficulties with manual dexterity, to actually help them to understand what that might actually feel like, so that the idea behind it is that you diagnose correctly, you don't misprescribe the wrong medication. So we created a virtual reality simulator using this product. So this is called SenseGlove. They're a Dutch company, and this is purely at development kit stage, but it's a great piece of kit, and I'm going to show you one final video that's definitely going to play straight away, and then it's a call to action, then it's sunshine, and then that's the end. But it's going to be inspirational, this last video, because it's going to play bang on. There you go. What's nice about it is it's not just haptic in terms of sense of touch, it's force feedback, so it can genuinely stop you from gripping. And then we're going to get caught in a loop where it's just going to play the video. Oh, guys, we're so close to a call to action, you wouldn't believe it. Yep, force feedback, tactile feedback, amazing. Guys, here comes the opportunity. So I've been to lots of these sorts of conferences and events, and I think when I first started going to them, I did the normal thing where you have basically three approaches. One, that you'll visit, you'll meet some great people, you'll get some business cards, you'll put them in your bag, and then you'll forget about them. Number two is you'll visit, you'll get some cards, and then decide, it's too risky, it's not quite right for us. Then you'll see a competitor do something, and then you'll decide to do something. And at that point, you have also kind of missed a chance as well. Option three is you visit, you become inspired, and you do something now to help take the company you work for into the future. And if you're going to get your phones out now, you shouldn't do, because even though it's going to be a big, bold statement, with no context, it won't make any sense. So, are we ready? Choose option three. Simple as that. Take a photo of that and post it. No one's going to understand it. We have a laugh and a joke, because that's what I do in these presentations when I'm given 3 days to prepare for them. It's a really, really pivotal time. Like, we're talking about this shift in landscape at the moment where genuinely all these technologies that we as a company are working with and you as companies probably exploring, they're shifting from being things that are novelty value, gimmick value, into things that may or may not have an intrinsic impact on how you do business for the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. The best thing you can possibly do, and you're doing the right thing by attending a conference like this. Like I was talking on film earlier on, D3D Live is a really amazing conference. It's a privilege to have these conversations with people who know what they're talking about. because you're doing the right things, you're educating yourselves. Keep on educating yourselves. You don't have to embrace every single technology that's out there. There's some amazing things happening. Some of them will be right for your business, some of them won't be, but just make sure you educate yourself at the starting point. And to do that, you can talk to Inition. So this is the contact details. Remember at the start I said the contact details? So we're a commercial operation, but at the same time, we're always happy to have a conversation with people. So you're more than welcome to pick up the phone, drop an email, have a chat with me now, and we just like to talk. With our best clients, we have ongoing conversations where sometimes they'll ask us, is this going to work? And we'll say, no, that's ridiculous. Why would you even think that? But we appreciate them asking. Sometimes they'll say, will that work? And we could say, yeah, that's unbelievable. That'd be a great fit. Let us tell you more. And that's what we're here to do as a business. And yeah, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you, everyone.